this.
And we're here, Brad. It's good to see those dance moves of yours.
Dude, I've been practicing. I am the chair dancing champion of Ohio. in a division I made up myself, so I'm the only competitor. So I'm also the tallest.
And we still have a Swede. We've kept Daniel on the call here. Daniel, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Magical.
We're hanging in there. And we have a new guest, James Carmona from the West Coast, joining us today. One of our chaos experts. What's up, James?
Where are you from, actually, exactly?
I'm San Diego.
Well, we're all jealous. Every one of us went, oh, yeah. We got sad about where we're living.
It's beautiful.
2 degrees and snow today.
No clouds in the sky at all. Just, those nice jet contrails, they're trying to poison everybody with COVID with. That's about it.
Oh, and good news, Britt tested negative for COVID and is feeling significantly better after 2 weeks of her basically dying. So
that's good.
Back in business.
So today I think we're going to focus, and when I say focus, I mean we're probably going to talk about 20 different things that we had no plan on talking of, but we're going to kick things off with chaos. We had an awesome cast a while back with Daniel looking for the secret sauce. So Daniel, why don't you open up and talk about kind of what you've been trying to do with the chaos books and what your goal is. And I think we got the right people on this podcast to talk about it more.
Yeah, so it's 9 books, right? So my thesis is that there has to be at least one ultimate bin. I'm still not there. Right now I'm running around with Rubik's Possessed Sword Singe. I'm trying that out because everyone else is doing other stuff. I'm pushing some smite spam in there with 3 shamans to the Lord jumps. What is
Princess?
Demon Prince? Yeah. So one is getting 3 up from the relic, and one is getting 3 up from the warlord trait. And then some brims, some cultists, Ariman.
That's what I've got your list.
Yeah. I'm also playing around a little bit with the changeling. The changeling to get a 6 up, feel no pain, and also throw boon on the possessed as well, so they get better strength or toughness. Yeah. And then I've thrown in 3 exalted flamers because shooting is also nice, and I think they seem really cheap for 50 points. Characters shooting 3 short range last cannons seems like point for point value at least. So I'm in 3 books playing around: Thousand Suns, Chaos, obviously, and Chaos Demons.
Let's compare and contrast that a little bit. Let's Komodo, what are you running right now, so we can basically kind of look and compare and contrast Daniel's concept list with what you're running right now.
So I kind of went a different direction. I think that because of the way the meta is, especially since Grey Knights are pretty popular, the possessed thing kind of got away from being, I think, front and center. So I have a weird deal, man. I'm using a World Eaters detachment right now, and I'm really, really enjoying the flexibility of Raptors. The World Eater Raptors being able to use that Apoplectic Frenzy strat before the game to move 9 inches puts you effectively at 33 inches away from where you would start if you get warp time off. So it's an in-your-face thing. It kind of has, it doesn't seem like it at first, but once you start kind of rolling strats, that Raptor unit can actually compete with the devastation that a Raven Guard, aggressor / Centurion charge can put off. They're really devastating. So I'm liking that. And then because I've able to kind of put that pressure onto the board, either turn 1 if I go first or turn 2 from Deep Strike, the Host Raptorial makes you pretty solid on that charge. I've been using Rhinos of all things. I've got a squad of Berserkers in a Rhino, and then I've got another detachment of 3x5 Plague Marines in 3 separate Rhinos with their support characters. And what I've been able to kind of get from that is just a solid center of the board brick. It doesn't have any real range. I've got another detachment. It's Thousand Suns, just 2 sorcerers on foot with 30 cultists. And unlike most other people, I'm not trying to go for the mortal wound output. I'm actually going with the cultist scheming, specifically for that relic that lets you 0 out 1 stratagem for the CP cost once per game. It allows for that the double attack on the Raptors if I need it. Combine that with, you can use, I think, up to 4 or 5 CP on them in that phase, makes them able to mulch through a lot of the chaff, and then use their pylons and consolidations to wrap stuff that doesn't want to be wrapped up. That's what I've been doing. It's been working out for me, but I know that the shortcoming is still with Chaos, the durability of the units you're using. So
I like to think it's funny because right before we went on the podcast here, the list that I'm going to play with Daniel this weekend is actually it's the similar mindset of just taking the board. I'm taking impulsors and stuff and Marines, but just trying to take that board countercharge. I actually like the fact that with the World Eaters, you can take those Zerkers as troops though, so you don't have to have even more tax basically in your thing, because that's Daniel had talked a little bit about that of what he was going to take for your troops and stuff. We were saying that those were kind of the shortcomings, that we're not sure what we wanted to take, and you had a big unit of pinks in for a while, and just we were really kind of, because in Chaos I feel that they're so strong, but every time you get into your battalions and stuff like that, it feels like I got to take 3 more tax units, that I don't that are feel like I'm just giving away kill 1, kill more kind of thing.
I really like Rubik's for that though, because I mean, when they get there, like you don't even have to max buff them. Just 3 up invo save, 2 up invo save. They are so durable. When they can teleport themselves around, I think they work really well as tying up stuff, or they also deal a significant amount of damage with AP2 bolters and veterans of the Long War and stuff. So that's probably, so far I've only had 1 game with this list because I built it against Brad. 100% success rate. So I think
you gotta retire it.
Kill it now, man.
100. I've never lost with Chaos.
It's it is a balance, man, because every time we jump on the board, it's Alan, you and I were talking about this a few days ago. It seems like if you have a 200-point unit kill 700 points of your opponent's army, you still lost. Like, so for some reason, your durability is so far out the window that you'll lose that unit, and then another half of your list. And even though it was a great play and you made some like super solid movement, it didn't make a difference.
Yeah, you get a massive return on that one unit, that Lich Pin unit you have with all the strats and stuff, and you hit really hard. But then the moment you're done with that, you get this inefficient return. Like, your opponent is able to kill your unit with way less points as well. So even though you've done it, they've done it right back to you.
I feel like because of the fact that your troops are inefficient, that happens a lot though, because once you start trading those units that are taking objectives, like your big unit just smashes so much stuff, but then all of a sudden infiltrators and intercessors start interacting with your 1 wound guys, and you just get bad trades eventually. I was having that, and I was playing around with the Chaos, and I'm actually looking forward to when they revise the Demon Book, and I think it's going to add even more juice. I think I swear to God, the thing is, guys, we were talking about this. I think that there's multiple tournament-worthy Chaos builds out there right now, and I think that we haven't found we haven't found the secret sauce yet. But there's so much to pull from, and I feel like a lot of times you get, and I really like the fact that you went a different direction on this, because of the fact that I feel that people, and I was just saying this, everybody feels that because this unit, this army won whatever tournament or whatever, everybody now says this almost version of this is what exactly you have to take every time.
Groupthink is a big deal, right? And you have someone with, and now groupthink is even bigger with the internet and consulting and everything like that. You're like, oh, this list won. You go see it on 40K Stats Center. You're like, oh, I got the exact copy now. Boom, da, bada, bing. I'm gonna play this, and it doesn't always happen that way, right? Looking for something creative and something different. I love the Death Guard addition to yours, James. I think that's awesome. And I mean, I feel like Daniel's really just playing baseball right now. He's swinging for the fences with anything just to see if it works.
But you want to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. I mean, we talk about secret sauce. I think a lot of times we get caught up with the idea that we need to find a list that just somehow is better or is able to compete with the meta on just some like different kind of level. And Chaos can't really do that, again, because of the troop choices. But there are secret sauce units in there that you can take, right? Like, I think their characters are usually where you can get the most interactions from several overlapping rules rather than, like, say, the possessed bomb, right? So, like, I wrote up a couple of them here for you guys. I mean, I don't know if you want me to
Yes.
Alan, that you wanted to hear a couple of like little put together things, right? We don't
give
have.
us one at a time, and then we'll all comment on them. Let's do that. Go
Sure.
ahead.
Okay, so Alpha Legion has a lot of really awesome stratagems, and one of those I like best is the fact that I can just get a free Warlord trait for 1 CP on any of those characters that I put in that battalion, right? And so I've been taking it's from Forge World. It's called the Hellrite on Dark Abeyant, and I give him the Sniper Warlord trait, the one where you can pick up characters.
Then 18,
And,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he shoots only 15 inches, so that's a problem. Until you remember, you can still give him a relic. So I give him the Mind Veil. He moves 3d6 inches like he's a jump pack unit. He's infantry, and he's less than 10 wounds. He's at a 2-up save. He's tough 5. He regains a wound every round. He can do a mortal wound to a vehicle and a 2+ in the movement phase. He's no slouch in combat. He's strength 6, AP 3, 2 damage with 5 swings. So he's solid. And being able to shoot the kind of weaponry he has at characters, especially from inside of blobs like the way Chaos field in so many different armies, it's really, really awesome. And then if he ever goes out of position, you scoop him up off the board for a CP and drop him back down the next turn. Yep. So it's a really solid 134 point model.
And he's fun. That's just fun, right? Like when you talk about playing that, you're like, hey, guess what I'm gonna do? I got you.
A lot of the way that old sniper, what was he? The jet runner, the jet seer guy. Remember, he'd be able to shoot the Reaper launcher at you.
Yep.
It's really similar. It's just that he's able to duke it out in combat even better.
And that guy did not. The old guy that hung out was not duking it out. He was shooting it out, not duking it out. I like guys like that. My thing is when armies, and I really like that a lot because one of my big things is army versatility, where you can have a chance. You have different components that can get you into different matches and lots of different things. And I think that guy is super, gives you a lot for that because he can fight, he can shoot characters, and he can actually make dangerous moves with a unit that'll screen him only maybe for a turn, and then you just pick him up and put him in the back.
That's exactly what I do with him. And the other thing to remember is that gun that he has, right? It's I think it's called the Warp Flamer or something like that, and Warpfire Lance. I'm sorry, that's what it's called. It's strength 6, AP 3, D6 damage, and if you roll a 6+ to wound with him, you get an extra shot.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're going to go Veterans of the Long War on him. And you should, I mean, most of the time get one extra shot. He's hitting on 2s. So like those characters you're hitting, they don't stand a fucking chance, man. They're going to get wrecked.
Sure,
sure. You can do endless cacophony on him if he's a Slanesh guy. You can shoot twice.
Yep.
Imagine shooting twice. You kill 2 support characters and then bum rush the 3rd. I mean, he's doing work.
That's such a huge thing with Grey Knights being such a big thing because you can push up, literally pick up 2 chaplains and then bounce.
Yeah, definitely a very, very solid little cool trick in the Chaos book. Daniel, what do you think? I'm going to pivot real quick off this one because I have an Alpha Legion point that I want to say. But Daniel, do you have anything to add?
No, it sounds spectacular. I don't play with Forge World, so I don't know anything about it because it's not.
So you don't need Forge World. You could just do it with a regular guy too. This gun in particular is very, very good. But you could take like a Terminator in armor. You can give him the relic from Alpha Legion. That sick ass gun.
Yeah,
it's like
I was to say there's several guns that do
-2. And you could do the exact same thing. You don't have the movement as the same because you have to take that relic instead. But you can give him a really good gun and still do the same similar thing.
No, it's definitely interesting, for sure.
My pivot was going to be also Alpha Legion. I'm a big fan, and James, you mentioned them, you brought them up, and I think from my perspective, my favorite thing playing them was the ability to add to the roll of explosion on vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
For me, that stratagem in a tournament, I came to a tournament by Brad playing 3 Lords of Skull, which I'm sure we'll touch on at some point as a really fun list.
And the disco.
The 3 Lords of Skull with Alpha Legion and the ability to do that may not be the best Lord of Skull army, but it's the most happy you'll be during a game, just watching your opponent know that his
nobody knows about that shit either. Like you can literally, I like that stuff that no one, you know what I mean? That's not, the people aren't ready to play for. Because like right now you play the standard chaos list and you set up in your standard anti-possess, draw them in, stretch them out, kill the support characters, eventually kill the possess. You know exactly what you're going to be doing. against the list that you brought, the list that Daniel's bringing against me, they're both different. So I don't have an autopilot. I have to think about my deployments and my reactions as opposed to going, oh, it's that list. I do this, this, and this. Not saying that it's super easy to beat it, but I know exactly what I'm going to do play style almost every time as far as what you're doing against it, because you played it so many times.
Yeah, absolutely. Chaos does have a lot of mutability. It's just that it struggles to stay relevant because a lot of the builds that come out, like these alpha builds that come out, are just so over the top that, I mean, it is hard to compete. Even if you play a perfect game, somebody might just roll dice through the game against you and just win. Yeah. You know, I mean, I hate to say it, but that Raven Guard list that has the disintegrators in it and then also the 2 tank aces in it, that list is fucking cancer, right? I mean, you don't have to just literally sit there and say, I know exactly what I'm going to do. These Raven Guard guys are going to go all the way in your face. Then I'm going to shoot you for 4 turns and hope you don't get to me. That sounds like a lot of fun. You know, it doesn't even require any psychic powers. It just happens.
I mean, from my perspective, James, anybody playing Raven Guard just realizes that they need a crutch. They're not actually.
And I play none of that though. Come on now. I just play my. I barely have any
tournament and flaming out like Nick Brown at LVO, and like having their entire reputation questioned. Everyone, so they have to grab that crutch. And then there's other players who are like, hey, I've never played a Sisters before, but I know they're the best and I'm going to try it out, and they do really well, you know. So I'm just saying, like, there's different kinds of people. There's people who come up with creative Zinch possess bombs when everyone else is playing something different. He's trying to work, he's trying to create, he's trying to push it forward. And then there's scrubs, you know. There's just both sides of the equation. That's all. But
listen, I've got my 2-sided hat on where I turn to whatever's the best army at the time. And then I just keep using that. I mean, look, I got worried about characters, so I brought 27 sniper scouts and 2 other guys that could snipe characters because I didn't know what people's stuff could do. So I figured if they were dead, they no longer could buff the people.
Well, that's always my strategy against Forge World when I meet it. I always go like, I don't know what that does, so I'll kill that first. And then I have to learn it.
Until you play the big chicken, and then you're like, I can't kill it. It's nerfed.
Now, I've got some stuff that's near and dear to me because when I first started playing 40K and my first big tournament, basically 2 tournament seasons, I played World Leaders. So I've got tons of World Leaders, and I want to hear give me some of your main tricks on this because they're still near and dear to me. I've got a zillion berserkers. I've got all the different color-coded rhinos ready to go with the shoulder pads with everybody. And I've got a lot of guys that I used to tool out. You know, of course, they were the best at the time also because that was back in the day when those were, Rhino Rush. And
so to be honest with you, I've only got 1 squad of Zerkers in there on Rhino. It's an 8-man unit. But he rides
stuff in general. Just the things that you use, trickery rise, just for wood.
The reason the Rhinos, in my opinion, are pivotal with that Berserker unit is because when they get out, you're effectively getting a 10-inch move. It's a 3-inch disembark plus the base, right? Because you're still within. So your movement, you know, turn 2, you're getting out. You're pretty much charging what you want to. And usually, if you've had any amount of damage into your opponent on turn 1, which if you're Chaos, you need to be doing, the Berserkers can kind of pick their targets, and the Rhino helps them eat Overwatch. So I've noticed people don't tend to stagger their squads far enough apart because Berserkers with a double action can usually put enough damage into one unit to kill it, and then advance pile in, stay outside of that inch, not let you attack because you're no longer eligible to swing, and then pile in and kill that second unit. That is a huge deal, especially if you've got those 3 extra CP laying around to do it a third time. I mean, mopping up 3 units, even if it's just chaff, no one expects 1 unit of Berserkers to kill, 60 guardsmen in a turn, but they can, like 100%. Relatively quickly. And that's not killing the power in your opponent's army. What that's doing is softening him up so that you can land punches where he didn't want you to, essentially. And I've been using them as a screen clear for, in my army, the plague Marines to get out and start launching their attacks. That's the real damage output: mortal wounds, blight bombardment, things like that. The characters to land. So I think that world leaders are excellent at scrubbing away your opponent's chaff, no matter what it is, because you have a strat that lets them go to AP4 on the power fist in there. It's AP2 on all the chain axes, AP1 on the chain swords, You should never be taking any kind of guns on your berserkers. It should
God,
be-
no.
What about all my plasma pistols?
You shut your face. You know, the shutting down of psychic
Overcharge
power,
them and shoot.
no, the threat of shutting down that psychic power is pretty nasty too. Yeah,
Exactly. Yep.
that's-
And the Raptors do that for me like once a game, when they come down. That's again, Raptors are really good. They're that literal shock assault troop that gets up, gets in your grill, gets relevant immediately, and allows your opponent, disallows your opponent from making good decisions because you want to start crippling movement on Chaos armies immediately. But you also have to deal with a giant Raptor unit that's sitting there putting out so many attacks. 4 attacks per guy on the charge, or if they're charged. AP1 that you can do Death to the False Emperor not only against Imperial but anything in the game. So if they're prescienced, you're getting extra attacks on 5s and 6s, not just 6s. If you've actually if you've kept them in reserve and you've deep striked with them as a host Raptorial, which you should be, they have a scrap that lets them reroll all hits, not just ones. So you can go fishing for 5s and 6s if you're prescienced. You pick up even the hits that are
I'm
not.
so sad you brought that up because I was about to use that as my "Did you know?" which of course you did.
He literally was like, if you're not host Raptorial, like you need to go back home. Like
You're like, you could be doing something different, but you'd be wrong.
It was like the Game of Thrones episode where like the maid was looking at Daenerys and she's like, it is known. It is known.
Yeah, I mean it's insane what they can do. I mean, I tell people if they're asking me like in a game like how many attacks can I be expecting to take or how many wounds, I'm like, well, your T4, you're looking at somewhere around 50 wounds from the Raptors with chainswords. And they're like, what? I go, yeah, 50 wounds. They go, well, it's only got 61 attacks to start. How's that possible? Well, I mean, if they're on the board, you can even make them get Soul Terror important from the Dark Apostle. They can go +2 to wound as they get across the table.
I forgot I 1,000% didn't think about it all. But yeah,
I mean, if they're not on the board, see, that's where you have that kind of give and take. You don't ever really lose the potency of that attack because if you're on the board, you get +1 to wound, right? If you're off the board, you're rerolling all of your hits, fishing for more hits. So usually the math kind of susses out about the same depending on what you're attacking. But they're extremely potent. That's again why I'm using that 3rd detachment as a cult of scheming because I really starve for command points after that first turn. So zeroing out
Chaos is tough.
You're playing Chaos. I played many a year for I brought an ETC twice or whatever, but in your things, and you're like CPs. You mean the stuff that I used turn 1 and maybe the start of turn 2? Yeah,
gone, bro.
Those don't exist after that. That's something I do right away.
I mean, zeroing out a second fight activation it's insanely good. You're able to do that, and then you still got maybe 8 or 9 CP in the bank for the next coming turns. If by turn 3 my plague Marines are getting there in my list, 1 or 2 CP is all I need. 1 blight bombardment, 1 +1 to wound, and I'm good to go. I don't care. We're good.
I think Chaos fit the model. We talk about a lot, James, on here. I know Daniel mentioned it once with me before. Is we designed the list and then we almost earmark all the CP. Like I'm gonna spend 3 for this. I'm gonna spend 2 for this. So like you don't even bother with like that random reroll in the game. You already know where your CP is all going. Because if you don't, then you're running out too quick. But yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool.
Why do you run Raptors instead of Warp Talons? Because they can be more.
Well, more attacks, more guys in the unit, and then you can stretch out further to get that double activation if things are too far apart. The 6-inch pylon helps a lot with that. But I've noticed that if you have a guy that's savvy and he knows what's going on, he's going to make sure that the units are separated so that you're not getting as many swings into each unit. So by having 15 models, it's much easier to try and kind of bridge that gap.
Bigger,
and then it opens the door and the possibility for wrapping other units much easier. People they're not expecting to get hit by something that moves 33 inches across the board and charges 2d6 +2 either with a reroll. So I mean, I again, you're trading the ability to ignore Overwatch with just pure output and flexibility, and I'll go with that. That's just me. It's a preference. It's not something set in stone, but I've been having a lot of fun with them.
I was just curious. I like warp talons a bit because they're demons, which means you can stack stuff easier on them. I'm looking at, so I'm going with the smite spam version of this list right now, but I'm looking at removing some smites and putting in like 2 units of talons in there just to make some matchups so preferable for me, like Tau. If you have 20 warp talons wrapping stuff, and then you can't move out of the
with Night Lords and just trap.
Yeah, exactly.
I like those a lot. I actually thought about what do you guys think about this? I was doing like a little just trying to come up with some concepts though. There's so much chaos demon interaction on that I thought about taking more possess, more warp talons, and basically taking a more demon keyword with the princes and everybody else, putting Aramon on a disc, but just so everybody's getting different buffs from the auras, from the everybody they get. So what I mean, you're getting the +1 whatevers from everybody, and you're kind of stacking those with your cursed earths and everything else that you can put on these units, and trying to really leverage synergies.
That's sort of my plan with this list, but even more with the other version of this list. This is using chaos keyword as much as I can.
It's just that there's so many things that are just that there's so many things with demon right now with the demon keyword that can cross over, and chaos has the better units, but the demons have the better buffs basically.
So originally, before any of the new PA stuff came out, Black Legion, I had a list at the beginning when Black Legion had their rules come out, where it was a possessed bomb from them, and they have the ability to take all marks at the beginning of your turn. Yeah. And so I was taking a Slanesh detachment of demons and then a mixed detachment of demons with every other herald. And what you could do with them is, literally 2 possessed can kill a knight in 1 turn.
Yeah.
Oh, they're juiced.
Right? They're super juiced. But the problem is, and this is something that I think that we'll see probably more of once people start kind of getting back to playing in real tournaments, is Grey Knights will get really relevant again. And when they switch to that tide that does 4 mortal wounds against demons,
I know. Yeah, that's
tough.
That's true.
Hits your teams because you can always bring them back, right?
Yeah.
For 2 CP, I think it's 2. You can just take any unit that you lost and it just deep strikes back onto the board the next turn. So that's not a big deal. But if you lose 15 possessed to some scrub who's just like, okay, smite, you got nothing to do, then your game's over. Like that's pretty much it.
It's the other thing is that let's tell you the truth. It's one of the big reasons I was playing Raven Guard on that is a lot of those things do fall apart if you kill the key component, basically all the buffs. So those become overpriced because think about it. None of us were taking that before you were able to buff all those things on them, and if you kill those key things, basically it does kind of fall apart on that. And I do like the fact that you've got units that are just operating with tons of dice without needing synergies with anything else. So you can bring down things that only need themselves in a strat or whatever. You know what I mean? So that can, even if all the characters die, you still have different things that still work, as opposed to, like something like Possessed does literally fall apart if you don't have all the buffs on it. And so I like both your guys' where we're going on this. I actually like the fact that you're both bringing, I like this talk right here because of the fact that you guys are bringing 2 different ideas in Chaos and both feel relevant on it. I like that a lot also because we're just thinking outside of the box basically. I like the fact that we're getting into more stuff because, especially Danny, don't get him started on anytime that we get anytime there's too much group thinking about anything or, corporate 40K that goes on. He'll go on a rampage for a while. And I'm the same as far as I like to see different things going on. And I think that we haven't found the best of a lot of armies because, again, people go, oh, that's the net list I'm supposed to play. And then they don't take armies that fit for them. And I like what you're doing right here. You literally have something that people aren't used to, and now you're getting 61 attacks plus all your prescience, plus all your Death of the False Emperors. and stuff like that. No one's ready for that. So all of a sudden they're not getting their auto responses to you. So you're like, that didn't even cost me that much. You know what I mean? I just cleared out a ton of your chaff. They got killed in return, but how much did that cost you? Oh shit, you got a lot of army left, and you did a lot with it.
That's a really good point you were making, that people don't tend to find, the correct build or the best build or whatever. But I think that's not even minding the fact that the meta does change enough that there's mutability as soon as something shifts. As soon as one army starts taking over as being the popular dominant thing, that opens up builds, not just to counter that build, but to what's countering that build. You can kind of identify those things. Like a knee-jerk reaction, right? For me to getting hit one time with that stupid Raven Guard stuff was to take something that would punish it. And I think if you have that kind of in mind, you'll never really be in the seat to be like, oh well, I'm just going to play what's winning. You should want to counter that. You should be creative and want to say, yeah, I'm not going to fall in line with all the same shit. It's going to get boring. Otherwise, you're going to have a repeat of what happened at the end of 5th. It was everybody played Missile Wolves. Everybody played Blood Angels, the Razor Rush. Everybody played Grey Knights. Everybody played Necron. It was boring as fuck. It was the most balanced, but it was also the most boring, in my opinion.
Well, that's actually why I wanted you on the podcast today to talk about Chaos, James, because how many conversations do we have on a regular basis thinking outside the box, trying to come up with something different?
I mean, back in ever since the dark days of, spamming Malefic Lords, we've been talking, right?
Yeah.
I came up with...
no. Don't. I'm getting all...
You just take a Dreadclaw. You just take a giant Dreadclaw. You drop it down. And then you warp time it right by all of the Malefic Lords. Oh, sorry, Daniel. You're non-Forge World. You don't speak Forge World. Let me give you a synopsis.
Don't speak Forge World.
It is a giant drop pod for Chaos only.
It is so not a drop pod. It is a freaking little crawl. It looks like Baba Yaga.
And I played at the Nova tournament. I played 14 Malefic Lords, and they were all in a bubble. And I brought it down 9. I warp timed it right by them, and I shot its gun. And its gun it shoots every single unit within 6 inches of any of the legs, shoots them all. Yeah. You get D6 auto hits, strength 8, -2, D3 damage. So I blew up. I blew up 9 Malefic Lords in a single turn.
It helps when someone's something different, because he was like, "So what's it do?" Oh, I should probably not have them here. This is bad.
Yeah, that's true. My opponent, I don't think my opponent realized that.
It basically goes, "Oh, can we play this again so I don't have all my guys within 6 inches of your chicken walking?"
I mean, that was the play going into the game, though. So it panned out.
The thing is, though, is you ended up getting shafted on that, but we won't go into detail about that, will we?
Oh, no, because Mike Brandt will literally appear right now and stab him in the back.
Since we're on Alpha Legion still, I want to run one more character by from Alpha Legion. Arcos the Faithless is also he's also a steal, because he doesn't have a stock Warlord trait. So he's already -1 to be hit just all the time.
Yeah.
On top of his Alpha Legion bonus.
Yeah.
He's got a really solid close combat thing. It wounds all infantry on 2s no matter what.
He's got a gun.
Flat.
Yep.
He's got a combi melta, and he has true scout or true infiltration. Like, you can actually set him up in the beginning portion. His stipulation, though, is that he has to be 12 inches away from things, not 9. So a little bit less good, but still something, because we don't actually have any units that can do that.
Yeah.
That's the Nurglings, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So really good. And where my mind was going with that was, first of all, to give him a -1 to be hit Warlord trait, right? So it effectively puts him at -3 to be hit from shooting just off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it kind of props up a nice little center of the board summoning point, which I think a lot of people kind of underestimate the power in summoning, especially for board control. Yeah. And not just for board control, but for blocking. Like, if you're able to kind of put in line something that's difficult to move, like Plague Bearers or anything, flies, anything, to just try and keep your opponent corralled, is super good for Chaos, because we're so board centric. We get up the board, we jump onto things. So corralling somebody into their table quadrant is helping us a lot to win the long game. We need to score big and score big early on. So that helps. The other thing is that, I mean, again, he is a beat stick. So if you have something that is aggressive enough to keep up with them, he's liable to go up and just plunk something that could be considered a linchpin, like aggressors. Like an aggressor unit is just kind of chilling back there, or something that's 3 wounds. He's wounding on 2s, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s. Really good. So solid guy there, especially again since he's -3 to be hit if you take the warlord trait. That's one of the ones.
Another Nova story on him. When I played Zolf the Faithless, I ran him in a list where I had a ton of points for reserves before they nerfed the giant chaos spawns, and I summoned 6 giant chaos spawns during the course of the game. One game, I got 2 of the spawns to over 40 something wounds, and my opponent was like, "Yeah, just shake hands."
Those are annoying back then. You know what's weird? Everybody, for some reason, we were playing with them and they were seeing him on the table a lot. Everybody forgot that Plague Marines can put out a crazy amount of mortals. It's like everybody just like decided that wasn't a thing, and
John,
you didn't see him.
You didn't forget that. You didn't forget.
Yeah, but now I'm just saying, but like that went away for like 12 months for some reason. It's like, the better part of a year, everybody went, Plague Marines can do all this damage. And then everybody went, nah, let's not bother with it. I'm like, that's kind of nasty, man.
They had no way of getting across the board before because you had things like the Castellan or lots of other knights and shit that would blow up their wheels and then it gets stranded.
Rhino dead.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Now rhinos are gold because you're finding a lot more people putting out like either mid-quality or low-quality shots in high amounts that kind of plink and bounce off of rhinos for all intents and purposes, right? So you got one more layer to get through before you actually hit the stuff that's going to hurt you. And, I mean, the flails in that unit are all that needs to live for you to literally bring down a knight. If they're prescience and they're +1 to wound from veterans and +1 to wound from blades of putrefaction, that knight's going down like a punk.
Baby.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Blades is such an underrated spell, man. Plus the mortals on top of that. That's just crazy.
We've been talking. We've been talking too much Forge World. I want to hear from Daniel. Daniel, I apologize for all the Forge World talk, man. You don't even know.
I love when EW puts Forge World into the books so we can play it at the WTC.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna start learning it.
I'm not gonna lie. This is how all things when I go to big tournaments go. I'm like, Alan, tell me about Forge World stuff before I go to this tournament.
Yeah.
It's like never going, especially when it's getting close to WTC time, because then I'm completely making all, because you're not allowed to put it in your list.
You just forget it. You erase it from your brain. So Daniel, give us something different. We heard your list about Tzeentch Possessed. I personally feel like that is really trying to do something new. And I'll wait to see how that performs after more than one game against the paraplegic kid.
The idea there is to remove a little bit of the value of the possessed. Like they're not. The idea is not that they're feeling the damage. I want to give them like 3-up invo, -1 to hit, -2 to hit, so they are very durable. And then you stock stuff up and smite it down.
That's so we're gonna get a progress update on that list. But what else were you thinking? You talked about Rubric Marines. I know you were talking about Slaanesh too. I heard you talking about Slaanesh and the contorted epitome and stuff there. Where'd that end up?
I think if you're gonna run Possessed, I think Slaanesh Possessed are probably the best because you can get them to 4-up invo. You can get 5-up Philopane on them. You can double strike with magic, and striking in psychic phase is massive because then you get, and then you can charge again. And so that's probably the best way to run it. But I've seen other people do it, so I'm not going to do that. But
well, I saw one list. Aiden, to throw a shout out, there is a guy, Aiden Barkley, I believe his name is. I know Aiden real well. I can't remember. I'm blanking on his last name right now. But he ran a list at LVO with double 220 bricks of Slaanesh Possessed, and it was.
I like both of the marks on that. To tell you the truth, Nurgle and Slaanesh. I mean, Slaanesh have probably just more speed, which probably is. But the Nurgle does have the opportunity. I actually fear the Nurgle more because of the fact that I bring tons of Centurions, so it's a big deal for me on the extra damage. So it's just, right. It depends on what you're what you're playing against. I actually didn't mind a Possessed. This is another thing I thought of, but I think it's too much intricate, trying to get multiple things working, but one of each with multiple characters, because I also wanted to bring the gem with a Slaanesh Herald, just because, man, that is just so money of a thing.
If you get it off on the right character with an aura, you can shut down everything. It's just crazy.
Yes, it's just nuts, dude. If you get a good gem turn, it is just game over on that. It's
by the way, for those listening right now, I mean, I know I'm talking to James and Daniel more because they're the innovators. They're trying to create the new list. They're really pushing chaos. But you guys got to keep in mind that even though Brad is a punk ass bitch playing Raven Guard, we have to remember he has a long history in 40K. He's made his name playing armies like Chaos. He's made his name playing bad stuff because he wasn't afraid back in the day. Nobody knew who he was in 2018. So because nobody knew him in 2018,
I literally throw stuff at you.
He has a lot of reps in and a lot of feedback that he can give you guys. And even though I'm not pulling him in here from a creative standpoint, he does have a plethora of knowledge over 1,000 years of information that a dying sun would have in the osmosis layer of progression. You know,
I remember the Eldar before the fall.
You guys were cool. What happened?
Yeah, what happened, man?
But no, I definitely agree with you, Brad. I think the gem in any list is a cool little thing. But I think for what you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I think what we're all saying here is Chaos has so many ways to play, and you can make so many armies in Chaos that are like no questions about it. They're going 5-1. They're going 4-2 at the worst. They're doing really, really well at events, but they just have that one game that the particular build you made isn't good in that one game. And if you play for that game, if you strategize for that game, you're going to end up playing something else. And I think Joe Pesci said it best. When you're playing Chaos,
it's either me or them. You're getting fucked one way or the other.
The thing with against the Chaos thing is Ramona said it correctly on the thing. The only thing that the problem is because a lot of times you have a lot of eggs in one basket on that, especially with some of the current builds. If somebody high rolls you with invuln saves or whatever, all of a sudden you're standing there going, well, shit, this was supposed to, roll through and wrap everything, and these guys are still here. And that could just be the complete downfall of your game, which is why I actually like both the lists you're talking about right now, because any one thing that happens doesn't just shit your game. You know what I mean? And I think that happens a lot right now with the current, just all of my stuff's on this unit of Possessed having to do so much work. And if it doesn't, all of a sudden the game just spirals. You know what I mean? And I like the fact that both you guys are talking about multiple threat armies, which make it so that you have versatility. You have options to do more things. And then I'm going to wait until the end of this to talk about the fact that I looked for some San Diego drug clinics because I heard that you thought Tau was a bad army.
I might have ran my mouth. My bad.
No, but that's also a reason why I'm running Sench, because I have like 9 denies in there. And Grey Knight is obviously horrible. But with all those denies, I think you could, take away a lot of the mortal wounds as well. I'm hoping, at least. We'll see. I'm playing Grey Knights as well, so that's sort of...
you got to anti your own army?
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of what I'm trying to do.
All right. Hey, can I give you guys 2 more characters just really quick? And then
Yeah.
All right. So you guys remember the Slap Chap, right? You guys had that overpowered champion or the chaplain that could just go nuts. We have one of those too. If you go word bearers, take a Dark Apostle and you give him that warlord trait that turns him into a possessed demon. Gives him +1 strength, +1 attack, +1 movement. You can also use a strat called the Revered Host. It gives him +1 damage to anything that has a possessed keyword. And since he's an apostle, you give him the Apostle of Dark Council before the game, so he can do 2 of his prayers. Right. So what I've done in the past is give him Slanesh, so that he can take Blissful Devotion, which allows you to advance and charge. Mm-hmm. And then I do the Omen of Potency, of course, right? +3 attacks and AP 4. I've gotten in the habit of giving him either the Crown, which gives him a 3-up invo, or the Dark Crozius, which makes him an absolute beatstick. He's AP 4, 4 damage a swinging at Strength 7, 8 attacks.
Yeah, so gross. And it's so little of an investment, actually, too.
Exactly. That's the big thing with him. 7 points. You don't have to do anything but spend 2 strats on him. Right? And then he corrects your entire backfield by himself. You can't land shit there. If you try and you leave your Centurions there, you're fucked.
Oh, yeah. You started naming off those stuff, and I just went, Oh no, a character charging through it will help my sense. No.
And that's what it comes down to. And especially if you, again, you got those magic rhinos sitting around somewhere. They eat the Overwatch, right? And then he comes in and cleans up. So that was the big combo wombo that I put together. But there's another one that's just really simple. Sorry, another Forge World character, but you can also do it with just plain Chaos Terminators. Is doing the Red Butcher's strat on Zoofor from Forge World, or you can do it on a character that has the Gorefather. Or I mean, either way, you're got tons of
World Leaders Terminator. He has Angron's actual axe.
Yeah, no, he does. He's got the Skull Taker axe, but yeah, same shit.
Right. Korn has his axe. Never mind.
And so what ends up happening is he's I think tough 5. No, he's tough 4, but he's in Terminator armor and he's got 6 wounds, so he's pretty healthy, right? And he has 2 sets of weapons. He's got a Power Fist essentially, and then he's also got this Skull Taker axe that lets him re-roll his hits against characters. So pretty cool. And you can get 2 rounds of combat if you do the Red Butchers. So I mean, just like a Berserker, he's getting all that extra movement. He's doing a ton of attacks. You can use all those same strats from World Eaters on him to make him absolutely bananas. And he can be a backfield guy as well. Right? He seems slow, right? But it doesn't matter. Just as long as he's sitting somewhere in the middle of your backfield, for 120 points, you get to say, all right, if you're coming here, you better be ready to fight because he's going to fuck you. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a knight or if it's a squad of Sense or a Grey Knight unit, he's going to put a lot of damage in.
I love the guys like that. There's the thing is like with those 2, I really, really like those combos that you're talking about because of the fact that they take very little apart away from the rest of your army and give you answers to that late game stuff. When people are trying to put stuff in your backfield, they're trying to take away you're taking more objectives at ITC style, ETC, WTC style, where you're trying to get Eternal War objectives at the end of the game kind of thing. Those guys can defend and or take away at the end, and there's so little on the cost wise, so it's not like you had to sink in a million points. That's why I hate some of the characters in the thing. If you put too many points into something, you feel like they have to do something. 100 and some point character low like that, all the threat of him keeping everybody away from X amount of distance is worth that amount of points every single time, because you auto take this objective because no one can go over there now in the end game.
Again, he's tough. That's the thing that we always look for in Chaos armies is what's actually going to be standing on the board turn 4 and later. And I feel like as long as you're not super froggy with him, which you shouldn't be, he's slow. He should basically make his points back by not getting into fights and just keeping people away zoned out.
100%, man. I agree with that. Basically the game now, I feel, especially ITC version, especially corporate 40K version, as Daniel would tell me, is right now, it's all about just taking objectives. So, you're basically fighting on top of, if you're a smart player, you're not just trying to kill models, you're trying to take the board and keep it. I could literally murder 90% of your army, but if you kept 3-4 objectives the entire game, you're still going to win by a lot. It's not about just who killed the most shit. And I feel that people fall into that trap all the time. They get lured into combats they shouldn't be in. They take units that, oh, this guy's tough. You're like, yeah, but that tough guy could literally be sitting on this objective and making it so no one else gets to come over here on this objective. So I like those combos a ton on that. I didn't even know that one dude existed, by the way. I'm not going to lie. So I'm also Forge World. Yeah, it basically goes like this. Daniel's here. I'm slightly above it in Forge World. And then Alan's like taking the tram in the sky somewhere, reading all the Forge World books.
Gotta do it, man. Well, see, that's the thing is that I've been playing Chaos for 22 years now. So it's like the only army that I play. I know that Alan says there's a lot to be said about somebody who can only play one army. But it's what I love. Devoured these books every single day, and that I have a spare minute, I'm in them. I'm looking for anything, any shit, man. I'll even take miswritten rules and grammatical errors. I'll take them. But
well, here's the question now, because Daniel and I have both been playing since forever. So now we want to know, what kind of stuff were you running in Chaos in 2nd edition with your D12s and your D8s?
Yeah, right. Dude, Berserkers still. That was it, man. That was the first box of anything I ever got were Berserkers. So that's what I was running.
Love it. I do. I love it. That's the very. I'll tell you as usual, my idiocy. We usually go back to a story about how much of a moron I am. So we'll rock on this. The first thing I ever bought in 40K, because I had read the second edition Codex. That's how I got into it. I read Codex Chaos and Codex Imperium, and I was like, these Chaos dudes are amazing. The story's awesome. I'm gonna get some stuff, guys. They've been pressuring me to get into the game. I've been a card player and role player guy, and I got a box of Chaos Terminators. And they look sweet. And in the stories, Chaos Terminators show up and everybody shits their pants and runs away. So I get the thing, open the box, and slide out some sprues and go, what the fuck is this shit, man? There's supposed to be 5 models in here, man. What's this? I literally had no idea. Everyone in the game starts losing their mind because they're waiting for me. They knew this was going to happen. So they're literally, there's like everybody peering over, waiting for me to open this box, and I'm expecting to plop down 5 Terminators, and I've got this. What's this plastic shit?
You're not alone. When I explain to people that, I'm like, yeah, they come on sprues. What's a sprue? Well, let me show you. This is what a sprue is. You pay for that? You pay that much money for that? Fucking crazy. What's wrong with you?
I went on about a 10-minute tirade of what the fuck is this shit? Like, I spotted some models. This is nonsense.
I didn't play Chaos as my first one. My story will be me loving people who were playing Chaos and who had the Terminators and both Space Marines and Chaos. And I was running Orcs at the time with the old school Choppa, and I just looked at them like, oh, cool, 2+ save. Have fun, buddy. Bye.
Nope. It's a 4+ save. Or
right. Cornate Chain did the same thing.
You could have been. Well, Berserkers had the Cornex on that. Yeah. So my favorite. I actually love if you would have done way back in the day, and you should have been playing Orcs in second, because then you could have been like, oh no, that unit looks pretty scary. I guess I'll use my thud guns to just pound it away and make it so it can't go anywhere. Enjoy sitting in that spot. I hope you enjoyed where you're standing.
Hilarious.
Virus grenade was second, right?
Yes. Virus grenade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Virus grenade. The virus.
Dude, the second edition rules, while not tournament friendly, were very fun.
Yeah.
House basement style, because so many things could go on. But it was pretty frustrating.
Many as you can actually fit in the truck can fit in the truck.
Yeah.
And if they fall off while you're moving the model,
they die.
And I told you for sure that I would get this off topic. Now we're talking about second edition victory.
Well, we're wrapping up right now. So I want to thank you, James, for joining. We'd love to have you on again.
For sure.
Yeah. Daniel, as always, our regular Swede. We have to have one Swede in the channel every cast.
At all times.
That we're sick. We have Jimmy and Robert as replacements already. We're looking to get Heinrich in, but Heinrich needs to be on every podcast. So really quick before we're done here. If this is Heinrich.
Totally blank. I'm old and I'm playing, so how I'm going to think at the same time is very
For context, James, we gave Heinrich a question while he was playing a game live on Facebook, and he responded with that. He's like, "I'm old. I can't think and play."
I do want to end with this because we've asked everybody that's come on board the same question, and I'd like to ask Jörn also. What do you think the top 3 armies are right now? If you were going to go to a tournament right now, what would you think the top 3 armies that you'd have to contend with right now? I mean, Chaos might be one of just, what do you think are the tier title list is? It doesn't have to be in order. Just what are the top 3? Just your opinion, completely.
Me or Daniel you're talking to?
You. Daniel and I have talked about it like 47 times now. It's all you.
Yeah, I would say Sisters of Battle, the Imperial Soup, and
now when you say Imperial Soup, are we talking like Guard and Wolves Bier? Are we talking about just like 3 detachments of Marines?
Well, see, that's kind of.
You got to go more specific. You can't just say keyword Imperium. That could be anything.
Yeah, the thing is a lot of it's like you're saying, Blood Angels, Raven Guard, and either Guard or AdMech. But you know what? Just to throw the monkey wrench in there, I'll say Tau, right?
Lies.
Because again,
lies.
I don't think that they are quite as good as you guys are giving them credit to be, but they're extremely solid. and they fuck up the meta really well. And I think that's kind of.
Are you sure?
We got Pesci here for everything.
They're a good anti-meta choice, I think, is what it is, and it's actually anti-meta enough, I think, to make its own. That's why they're good. But just like on paper, yeah, their stuff is pretty nasty, Alan. All their scientific, what do they call it? Experimental weaponry. That's what it's called. That is gross. That's gross stuff.
They're super experimental, if you know what I mean.
The shockers coming in.
Thanks again for the call, guys. We got our top 3 from James. Brad, as always, sponsored by Red Hot, even though we can't see it in the frame right now. Bring it in. There we go.